September 2023. A man is let out of his own skyscraper under police control. 6 years earlier, this man was one of the richest human beings in Asia. His personal fortune touched $42 billion. He owned a football club. He built a stadium shaped like a flower. Today, the company he founded owes more money than the entire annual output of Finland. $300 billion. This is not really a story about China. It is a story about a machine that turned concrete and promises into the largest pile of debt the world has ever seen, and about the millions of ordinary people who were standing underneath it when it fell. This is paper empires. To understand how an empire this large could vanish, you have to start in a poor village in Henan province in 1958. A boy is born into a family with almost nothing. His mother dies of sepsis before his first birthday. He is raised by his grandmother. His name is Hui Ka Yan, in Mandarin, Su Jiayan. For 10 years, he works in a steel mill, a technician, a nobody. Remember that, because in 30 years, this man will build one of the largest fortunes on the planet, and then lose almost all of it in a single year. In 1996, Hui moves to the new Bunton of Guangzhou and founds a property company. He calls it Evergrande, and he stumbles onto a formula that for 2 decades will look exactly like magic. It goes like this: borrow money, buy a piece of land, start selling the apartments before a single floor is built. Take the deposits from those buyers and use them to buy the next piece of land. Then do it again, and again, and again. In the language of finance, this is called leverage. At Evergrande, it became a religion. And the timing could not have been better. In these years, China is urbanizing faster than any country in human history. 500 million people are moving from the countryside into the cities. They all need somewhere to live. For an ordinary Chinese family, an apartment is not just a home, it is the only safe place to store a lifetime of savings. The stock market feels like a casino. The bank pays almost nothing, but property only ever goes up, so everyone buys. Real estate swells until it makes up roughly a quarter of China's entire economy, and Evergrande rides that wave higher than almost anyone. By 2017, Hui Ka Yan is worth around $42 billion, one of the richest men in all of Asia, and he spends like it. He buys Guangzhou's football club and turns it into one of the most successful in China. He plans a stadium shaped like a giant lotus flower, one of the most expensive football stadiums ever designed. He diversifies into everything: bottled water, theme parks, a dairy business, even electric cars, a company that at one point is valued higher than Ford before it has sold a single vehicle. Think about what is actually happening here. A man is selling apartments that do not yet exist in cities that may not even need them, funded by the savings of people who will not get their keys for years. And the entire country is applauding, because as long as the music plays, everyone is making money. Now let me show you how the machine really worked, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. A family wants an apartment. The building does not exist yet. It is a render, a model in a glossy sales office. They pay. Often they pay in full. 2, sometimes 3 years before the building is finished. But here is the part nobody says out loud at the signing table. That money does not build their home. It builds nothing. It goes straight back into the machine, to buy the next plot of land, to start the next pre-sale, to keep the whole thing moving. The buyers are not customers. They are lenders. They have handed Evergrande an interest-free loan, secured against a building that may never be finished. And this works perfectly as long as sales keep rising. The moment they stop, the machine has no way to pay anyone back. This is the oldest structure in all of finance. We have a word for it. Evergrande simply built it out of concrete at the scale of a nation and did it completely within the law. But Hui was not satisfied with apartments. He pushed Evergrande into electric vehicles, valued higher than Ford with no car to sell, into bottled water, theme parks, football, Every bubble of the era stuffed inside one company, all of it running on borrowed money. And then there is the quietest part of the story, the part that tells you what this really was. Evergrande began selling wealth management products, investment schemes paying high double-digit returns. And who did it sell them to? Its own employees, its own apartment buyers, tens of thousands of ordinary people. In plain language, the company was now borrowing from the very people who already trusted it with everything. Staff were reportedly pressured to buy in. Some told their bonuses depended on it. When a company starts borrowing from its own workers to stay alive, the end has already begun. It just has not arrived yet. And while all of this is happening, while the debt climbs toward $300 billion, watch what the founder does. Hui Ka Yan owns more than 70% of Evergrande's shares. Over the course of a decade, the company pays out roughly $8 billion in dividends. $5.3 billion of that lands between 2017 and 2020, exactly the years the debt is ballooning. In Hong Kong, dividends are not taxed. So picture it clearly. The ship is taking on water, and the captain is quietly carrying gold off the deck into his own lifeboat. August 2020. Beijing finally looks at the property sector and decides it has become a threat to the whole economy. Regulators draw what they call the 3 red lines, 3 hard limits on how much a developer is allowed to borrow, based on its debts, its assets, and its cash. For most of the industry, it is a warning. For Evergrande, it is a death sentence. Because Evergrande crosses all 3. The machine has always needed one thing to survive: more borrowing forever. And Beijing has just turned off the tap. September 2021. Evergrande misses a payment to its lenders. It is a small number against $300 billion, but it is the crack that reveals the whole structure. Around the world, people learn the name Evergrande for the first time. Markets shake, and every analyst reaches for the same 2 words: a Lehman moment, a collapse big enough to take the global economy down with it. But the real damage was never on a trading screen. It was on the ground. Across China, roughly 1.5 million apartments had been paid for and never finished. Think about what that means for a single family. They handed over the savings of 3 generations, the grandparents' money, the parents' money, everything, for an apartment, say, on the 23rd floor. And now they stand in front of a gray concrete shell. No windows, no water, no elevator, a skeleton in the fog. And every month they still pay the mortgage on a home that does not exist. Some of them do more than stop paying. They write a folded letter addressed to the very bank that holds their mortgage. Not a plea, a fact. We will not keep paying for a home that does not exist. Copies go to the local housing bureau, to state media, to anyone who might still be listening. Stand on what should have been their balcony, and there is nothing to stand on. No railing, no glass, just a bare concrete ledge open to the weather, 23 floors above a city still lit up at night as if nothing happened. This is what the paperwork calls 98% complete. A home that exists everywhere except in the one place it was supposed to: reality. The banks that hold these mortgages are, in many cases, the same state banks that financed Evergrande in the first place. So the letters mostly go unanswered. The debt does not care who is right. It only cares who still has money left to take. Multiply that one letter, that one balcony, by roughly 1.5 million apartments, and you start to understand the actual size of what collapsed here. Not on a trading screen, but in 26 provinces, floor by unfinished floor. In 2022, they finally break. Across more than 300 unfinished projects in 26 provinces, buyers do something almost unheard of in China. They stop paying. A mortgage strike. By the autumn, it has spread to over 340 projects. Ordinary people, refusing to feed a machine that ate their futures. And the empire comes apart, piece by piece. The Lotus Stadium, seized and sold, the football club relegated. In September 2023, Hui Ka Yan is detained by the authorities. In January 2024, a Hong Kong court runs out of patience. On the 29th, Justice Linda Chan orders China Evergrande to be liquidated. Wound up, dismantled, sold for parts. The shares are frozen, down 99% from the peak. The richest man in Asia later pleads guilty to fraud. The Flower Stadium is empty. The towers still stand in the fog, half-built. And somewhere on the 23rd floor of one of them, a single window, belonging to a family that is still paying. Here is the hard truth at the center of this story. Evergrande was not an accident. It was not a glitch. In a strange way, it was the most honest company in China, because it took the rules of the entire game and followed them all the way to the end. Borrow from tomorrow to pay for yesterday. Grow or die. It worked brilliantly for 25 years, and then tomorrow ran out. The men who built these paper empires almost never pay the real price when they fall. The people who do are the ones who paid in real money, for a home that was only ever a promise. Next time on Paper Empires, a different kind of liar, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower. Twice,